attention to that now. I ain't never letting that happen again. It's like I'm done. I can't review it again. But I can't talk about the same thing for another hour.
No.
Welcome to the Views with Chill podcast. I'm your host, Chill. Today we'll be reviewing Trading Places from 1983. Trading Places is a comedy directed by John Landis and written by Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod, based loosely off of a real-life event involving a commodities trader, Richard Dennis, and his quote-unquote turtles, which we'll get into later.
I don't know anything about that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
Starring Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, Ralph Bellamy, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Ameche, Denholm Elliott. Two extremely wealthy brothers make a $1 bet that drastically changes the lives of two men on a completely opposite ends of financial spectrum. Today, as always, I am joined by David and Lee. How you boys doing tonight?
What's up?
Oi, oi,
Oi,
boys.
oi, Lee.
But first, recommendations of the week. What do you guys watch new this week?
I watched Speak No Evil with James McAvoy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wasn't bad. Fairly predictable. James McAvoy was great.
Yeah, of
so
course.
it made it worth watching for me because I could watch that dude do about anything.
Yeah.
He played the villain really well. He was nuts. But it was a messed up movie. It's about a family that meets up with another family on vacation in Italy.
Ooh, I know what this movie is.
And then
now.
they go
Yeah.
back to their house and spend some more time with them, and it turns out real bad.
Yeah, the trailer for that movie is like, whoa.
Yeah, it's good. It's worth a watch.
Yeah.
And it's on Peacock, so.
Nice.
I was telling Lee, too, that there was a Danish version of this movie that came out 2 years prior. But the funny thing is that it's in English, too. Hollywood just remade the movie. I've never seen either version of it, so I have no idea. But I just think it's kind of funny that, like, Hollywood's like, that's cool.
Well,
Let's
they
take
did that. What other? I'm trying to. There's another movie that they did that with. That was a horror movie.
Well, they wanted to do it with that Talk to Me.
Yeah. But also Apocalypse Z. It's a Spanish film, but I think it's the sequel to
World War Z?
World War Z.
Really?
It's based on the books. And so I was like, but I want a sequel to that movie.
The book had absolutely nothing to do with the movie.
No, they just took
than
the snippets.
Other than the title.
The book is really good. It's just
a
not.
bunch of short stories that it
Yeah.
would have been really cool to watch.
Yeah.
But they went the route they went.
I mean,
I'm
I
not
didn't.
mad at it. I
Yeah, it
loved
was a great movie. Yeah, I really like that movie a lot.
I remember viewing that with your mama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She likes that movie too.
Should have her on again.
Yeah, we should. She would love it.
Yeah.
She really enjoys it.
I took Chelsea to see Wicked.
That's what I watched too.
So, it was good.
I loved it.
Yeah, it was really good.
I loved it. I am not a big musical person, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. What other musicals did I talk about?
You're the singer of the group.
I'm a singer, but I'm not like a Broadway person. I would say that I really like Chicago when it comes to musicals. I've never seen The Greatest Showman, and everyone says it is like spectacular.
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, I saw Sweeney Todd, but it was okay. There are a few songs in it that I like, but otherwise I was like, story-wise I like.
Yeah.
West Side Story?
No, I never saw it.
Really? Like remake
Rent?
or
I saw Rent, but I mean, again,
Book of Mormon?
nope. Never seen it. So I'm saying I'm not a huge... I don't know why. I'm just not. But I thoroughly loved Wicked.
What about Hamilton?
Actually, I watched Hamilton because I really didn't have any interest in it, right?
Yeah.
And my buddy Ryan, he is guitar playing, kind of big dude,
Yeah.
dreads to his butt,
Yeah.
button up pearl shirt, you know,
Nice.
always in boots and turquoise rings on every single finger. I think his knuckles say sandwich.
Oh my gosh.
He's just kind of that like rock star, and he texted me and said, have you watched Hamilton? And I said, no. He goes, I'm on my second time through. I restarted it because it was so good. And I'm like,
Damn.
okay.
All right.
Maybe I should watch Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I might not have, because everyone kind of said that about The Greatest Showman too. And I still haven't. I keep telling Jalissa, I was like, I really need to watch
That's
this movie.
good, but
Les
Yeah.
Mis.
I never saw Les Mis.
Really?
No, I do like the music from that because we did that in choir in high school. But it's so depressing.
Yeah.
You got to be in the right mindset to watch Les Mis. Like, it's not... I know the story, so I will say I love Jesus Christ Superstar from the 70s.
Dude, that was good.
I love that.
I've seen a
and I've seen the rock version, like the newer one. The only thing I've ever seen live on stage is Phantom of the Opera and Jesus Christ Superstar. Those are the only two like musicals I've seen.
Flash from the past. We used to have this thing in Lawrence, Kansas called Wakarusa, and since they've moved it down to it's like Alabama.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I was 14 years old, and I saw the Flaming Lips live, and I saw...
That's awesome.
I don't know how many other bands. There's like Galactic and stuff like that there. I mean, there was so many. It was 4 a.m., and we're in this tent, Jesus Christ Superstar, and we watched like this band put on this whole rendition of the play, and Dad's like, oh, yeah, yeah, this is our Sunday.
That's like one of my champion
all right.
songs. That like the opening Jesus song.
Yeah.
It starts with like, no, it's Judas singing.
Yeah.
So that song is one that I've tried to karaoke and I just can't finish it. Like it's so high.
Yeah.
And he goes up like 4 or 5
Boom.
octaves throughout it. And I can do the beginning like to a T, and then it gets higher, and I'm like, I can't do it. Yeah. So, but Wicked, all of my friends like the show, like the Broadway show or the off-Broadway show. I went into it with zero knowledge of any characters.
Movie?
Yeah, I did not know really the songs. I only knew like the 2 like famous songs, Defying Gravity and Popular. Those are the 2 songs I went in knowing. Otherwise, I knew who the characters were, but that's it. I didn't know anything else about the show. And man, like Elphaba really is the good guy in the movie.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a bad guy.
Right.
Everyone else sucks. Glinda, I think, figures it out, but like everyone sucks. I can't wait for part 2.
So does it change your perception of the Wizard of Oz?
So no, actually what it did was it sent me down the lore wormhole because I was always, as a kid, I was always curious about the red brick road because it spirals, yellow and red, and the red goes, I think,
Different
east.
direction.
Yeah. But it goes to, I can't remember the name of the land. There's like 5 lands. There's the central where the Emerald City is, and then there's Munchkin, which is off to the right, I think. And then they're like northern, southern, and eastern lands. And then it's surrounded by the desert from Return to Oz. So Return to Oz is based on book 2 and 3. They combine them as in characters, some of the story. It's all kind of like TikTok's in the 3rd book. The bed that she makes alive is in the 2nd book. So it's all kind of the chickens in the 3rd book. She has another animal with her in the 2nd book. But these books are weird. I was reading the synopsis of them. I'm like, there's vegetable people, and they get in a fight with people, and the other people start eating the vegetable people. And it's just a super bizarre, trippy world that's from like the 20s, 1900, And he was supposed to only write 13 or 14 books. And it was so popular that other authors came in, and now it's known as the 40. There are 40 books.
Wow.
So I will say, and if there are any listeners out there, the Wicked books, there are 3 of them. I mean, they just take like the idea of it and kind of do their own thing with it. I think it's kind of all now together, but the Wicked books are graphic. They are not what you think they're going to be. There's lots of SA in them.
Yeah.
They're really like graphic and bad.
I remember when the books actually became popular.
So some of the concerns that I had, like with my friend Ashley, was she was like, they've rebranded the books and put the poster of the movie on there, and people are going to buy this for their teenage daughter, and it is an adult book. It should not be read by a teenager.
Right.
Like, it's super graphic, and there's murder, and there's all this stuff in it. People need to be aware of that. I'm interested in reading the books because I think I love the lore of all of it, where it's at. It's supposed to be located somewhere in the world. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And you can only get to it certain ways. And
my thing is that I grew up watching, obviously, Wizard of Oz all the time.
Every year.
And so the movie, the original one with Judy Garland, kind of implies that, all of the characters that you see, including the Wicked Witch, are characters that she interacts with. And so I always kind of like to think that that was just kind of like a self-contained thing.
I think that when they made that movie, that's what it was intended to be.
Right.
It's a dream she had. That's kind of what they implied that it was, but it isn't. I mean, it's like an alternate universe almost, where these people are showing their true colors. And
that's kind of my headcanon, not saying it's whatever.
Yeah,
my
for sure.
Alternate universe of...
I would love for them to, because Return to Oz is not like a well-known movie. It's a Disney movie, but it's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie used to scare the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I wish that they would do more with it. I know they've done some TV shows, but they're not canon. Like, I want it to all be like in the same world,
Do you think if they remade Return to Oz, do you think that would help? Or do you think that'd go over well? Or...
I don't know. I don't even know if they need to remake it. Maybe just make the 4th and 5th book, like just continue it on.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Yeah, Wicked.
Yeah,
Solid.
I highly recommend it.
Because whenever he got here, and I was like, tell Lee about how much he liked Wicked and if he should take Annie.
Was she like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, sure.
It's really good.
I will take her to see it.
I'm telling you.
She's saying that she doesn't want to sit for 2 hours and 45 minutes in those
And this
chairs.
is just part one, baby.
It's too uncomfortable for her.
Yeah.
She's waiting for it to come out on
And
video.
I think it'll come fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that the sets in it are like mind blowing and they built them all.
Wow.
And secondly, they sang live. So everything you see, these people are singing live like it's on stage. It is not voiced over, which is them doing takes like 15, 20 times. And so when she's on the broom and she's flipping and flying, she's singing at that time. It's mind blowing. Craziness. The talent.
Back to Trading Spaces.
Yes.
Places.
I know, I do it too. Not TLC.
Yeah, sorry. So who picked Trading Places?
Dave.
Why did you pick Trading Places?
I was just looking up Christmas movies,
Yeah.
and this is considered a Christmas. It's not really. It just takes place during Christmas. But I mean, I've seen it so many times and just laughed my ass off.
Okay. Do you guys remember the first time you watched?
Oh, shit. I probably saw it home video and
Way too young.
way too young. Way too young. I was probably 9, 10, maybe
Oh my
11.
gosh.
It was a sight to behold.
Great.
Love me some Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, I do remember that.
It's funny. There's some other like inappropriate scenes in this.
Oh, there's all kinds of
But
inappropriate
I
scenes.
never, when I was a kid, I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, yeah.
So our icebreaker this week is, if you could trade places with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Elon Musk. I would love to see him do my job for a week.
Oh, so it's
Travis Kelce.
I don't want to get beat up. Thank you.
I'm just talking about Taylor.
I'm not that good at football. So.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're having to do it to like do their job, then not Travis Kelce.
I know I could do Elon Musk's job. It seems to be pretty easy.
What, buy companies, tell them what to do?
Take credit for everybody's work. I could do that. No problem.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Plus, I'm a billionaire, so
Yeah.
I could do that. No problem.
Dave?
Elon Musk.
Interesting question. I mean, maybe like a singer or something.
Cool.
Like a already established singer, not where you have to grind and
Right.
do all the stuff.
What about Jonathan Groff? No?
maybe I'm thinking more like Garth Brooks.
Oh, okay. I got
You
you.
might want to pick somebody else.
Well, I'm just talking about like his success.
He's got a lot of problems.
I don't even pay attention to what his problems are.
Might be looking at some jail time.
What'd he do?
SA.
Garth.
Yeah.
Idiot. I didn't know about the SA.
On his makeup.
So I
artist.
would like to trade places with Garth Brooks before the SA so that I could stop that.
There's also a rumor going around that he's a serial killer.
That would be crazy.
There's a lady that says that every place where he had a concert, somebody has gone missing right after it.
Who's the comedian? He's on the podcast with what's his name that doesn't wear the shirt? The comedian.
Well, Bert Kirshner and Tom Segura.
Tom Segura. There's people have developed this whole thing that he's a serial killer because every time he does a show, people start disappearing as well.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
Coincidence.
Yeah. What about you?
So I'm going to pick my wife because I would be married to me. That's just kind of the perfect fit.
What a cheap ass answer.
That is terrible.
Suck up, mother effer.
This podcast is bullshit.
This podcast is bullshit.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the movie before we get into spoilers. Trading Places has a runtime of 116 minutes. It was released June 8th of 1983. Had a budget of $15 million and it grossed $120.6 million. Top box office for June of 83. Any takers? Any
Return of the
guesses?
Jedi.
Number 1. Number 2, Superman 3.
Oh,
3.
It's a terrible movie.
God, it must have just come out.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
Yeah,
It's Richard
June
Pryor, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 3, Trading Places. 4, Octopussy. 5, War Games. 6, Psycho 2. 7, Flashdance. 8, Blue Thunder. 9, Porky's 2, The Next Day. And
Nice.
10, The Twilight Zone, the movie.
Oh, I love that movie. 2 Dan Aykroyd movies in the top 10.
Craziness.
I'll tell you that Octopussy takes the 3rd spot for the entire year,
Yeah.
behind Return of the Jedi and some
Yeah.
other movie. Not Trading.
Do you want to play a game? I love war games.
It was good. Well, Matthew Broderick.
Yeah. A little bit of facts about the movie before we get into spoilers. While writing the movie, Timothy Harris and Herschel Weingrod both planned on having Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder for the roles. However, they were both occupied with other allegations.
I could see this movie being a Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder movie.
Oh, yeah.
Stir Crazy was great.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, but I totally could see that. That's not one of those that I'm like, ooh, they shouldn't have done that. I could see it.
I mean, see it, but I still like Eddie Murphy.
oh, he's
Yeah,
so
boy.
good as Valentine. He's so funny.
According to John Landis, Jamie Lee Curtis was a hard sell to Paramount because she had only done horror films up to this point and wasn't known for comedy. comedy. But he admitted her willingness to perform topless helped change the executives' minds at Paramount after they saw a photo of her in a bikini. They felt that it would help sell the movie. So,
I mean, it sold the movie to me.
yeah.
Rocking.
Yep.
Yeah. Would you recommend people watch this, and who would you recommend people watch this movie?
Yes, and like
17
and up. Even like if people don't care about the nudity, because there's not really anything but boobs in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that it's kind of a confusing premise in movies. I mean, it still confused me. I had to look it up and be like, oh, okay, because they don't really explain what they're doing at the end of it. So once I figured it out, it makes sense.
Right.
But for years, I was like, I have no idea what the hell just happened at the end of it. I
Right.
just know this happened and that happened. You know, there's definitely some language,
Oh yeah, a couple of
hard R's on the N word,
one hard R and then some
softer.
softer O's.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
some
still.
blackface.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because it's never been brought up like ever.
No.
But I think it's because it's an Eddie Murphy movie. Like I'm sure he didn't give a shit.
No, he didn't.
Because it's not done blackface. It's
No.
like it's Jamaican. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's like his whole face. You know
It's
what I
a
mean?
disguise.
It's a disguise. Yeah.
It's not for entertainment value.
Maybe it was pretty entertaining.
Right.
A beef jerky time. I've said that my entire life. Beef jerky time. Yay.
So, spoilers on your count, Lee.
There we go.
All right. But first, trivia.
Trivia.
Question 1. Where does Mr. Winthrop work?
Duke and Duke.
It says Duke and Duke Commodity Brothers. But
Yeah, it's Duke and Duke.
Number 2. What is Billy Ray offered by the Duke brothers?
Well, a
$80,000 a year.
a house,
A house,
a driver,
a driver, a car,
butler,
and a wealthy
a checkbook,
a bank account.
A generous bank account.
Generous bank account, yeah.
So that'll
There we
work.
go.
Number 4. Who is not on the rolls?
What's the detective? The
I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're saying.
Meeks is not on the rolls.
Not on the rolls.
Payroll.
Oh.
'Cause he gets 2 checks, and both times Winthrop says, "Well, he's not on the rolls. He's not on the payroll."
okay.
And then
I just didn't know what
Valentine
you
did
meant by
Yeah,
rolls.
sorry.
That's okay. Yeah,
It's a postal term.
I guess.
Clarence Beeks.
Yeah.
Beeks. I thought it was Meeks, but it's Beeks.
What is Nanga Iboko from and his profession?
Cameroon.
And then I thought he was a student.
Yeah, he was a student.
Yep. Foreign exchange
Yeah.
student from Cameroon.
Beef jerky time.
And what are the final numbers from the stock market?
The final number is 29.
29.
Is the lowest. They are selling at 142 or buying it,
It started at 102.
but they didn't start guaranteeing
Yeah.
until 142.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep, that's all I got. Well, let's jump right in on our long form, not so long form discussion. Take it away.
All right. This one starts off with Winthrop.
Yeah, you're getting the and you're kind of getting like the high class, like he's
Yes.
getting ready and his butler's helping him get ready. And
Right. I always thought this movie took place in New York, but it's
I did too,
It's
and it's
Philly.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
and I'm like, all right, I got it now. And then they go to New York on the
Yeah,
trip.
it was the World Trade Center, I think, that threw me off forever. They only mention Philadelphia a couple times. They show like the Rocky statue, don't they?
Yeah. So a bunch of landmarks. in
Yeah,
Philly.
and the Liberty Bell and
It starts off with Dan Aykroyd preparing for his day, and it's completely just waited on hand and foot.
yeah, and I don't think that he's a douche, really. I just think that he's
So
pampered,
accustomed.
and
just-
that's his life. I mean,
He's so accustomed to
he knows that he's good at what he's doing, and he is good at what he does.
Right.
He's engaged to the Duke's niece,
Penelope
Penelope. Butler just seems like he's just going with the paces.
Right.
You know what I mean?
doesn't really care.
Yeah,
I
doesn't
mean,
really care. What is his butler's name? Why can't I remember right now?
I remember him going up to the Bentley, and then you think he's going to open the door, but he just stands there.
Yeah, he stands there and waits.
for him to come and open the door for him. I'm like,
I really
dude,
want to
you're
know. Hold on,
such
I
a
gotta.
baby.
Same exact thing. Gets in the Bentley. The driver drives him there.
Coleman.
He gets
Coleman.
to pull up to the Duke and Duke place, and
He has to wait for him to get out to open the door.
yeah.
And as he's walking in, every single person is saying,
"Morning, Mr.
Good morning,
Winthrop."
Winthrop.
Morning.
Good morning.
That's the thing this is why I don't think that he's a jerk, because he says it back. He doesn't act like he's better than anyone
Yeah.
else. He's just
Doesn't
like, good
act
morning,
annoyed.
good
He
morning,
just
good
says,
morning,
"Good morning."
to every single person that's walking by.
Well, he is the manager.
Yeah.
They are going to kiss his butt some.
Oh, for sure. So he's talking about pork belly, right? Or no, was his pork belly?
Pork bellies. He was reading the papers and he thought he had a feeling that pork bellies were going to make a move today. day.
Right.
He was right, and pork bellies, I don't know, either went high or low. I can't remember.
But he saved him like $300,000.
Yeah.
Then it kind of cuts to we see the Duke brothers getting ready as well.
Right.
And there's this legit like another level because at first you're like, oh wow, Mr.
He's
Winthrop
rich.
is rich.
No.
And then
The Dukes live together. They're brothers. They each have their own butlers.
Yeah. You could tell when they pan out and you see their mansion, you could tell there's definite two sides of the house.
Yeah.
And you just know one side's his,
Yeah.
the other side's the other guy's, and they come down the main stairwell together every morning to their butlers, and they're just ultra rich.
they have a line of people that are
Yeah, waiting outside for them when they get into their
Just to say, have a good day.
that car. I don't know if it was a Rolls Royce.
It was totally a Rolls.
and
Yeah.
that thing had to have been $400,000 or $500,000 back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. And they have like the phone in there, and then they have like all the clocks
Computer
for the different
systems
computer systems so they can watch the stock exchange. And
I don't know how that was possible back in the 80s. Apparently they did it.
Yeah, who knows?
same way that the smartphones worked, I guess.
Yeah. So now we get our first look at Valentine.
Billy Ray.
It kind of cuts to Billy Ray. He is on a piece of wood on wheels,
Yeah.
and his legs are covered. He's on his knees, but his calves and stuff are covered up. And it says that he's a disabled veteran that's blind.
Yeah.
And he is wheeling in front of
Duke
the.
and Duke.
It's not Duke and Duke. It's the Gentleman's Club.
That's
What's it
right.
called?
The Liberty Club. 'Cause
Yep,
it
Liberty
was founded
Club.
in 1776.
Yes. So it's like a gentleman's club. Very rich people, gentleman's club.
Very rich.
And he's outside, and the Duke brothers pull up, and he's asking for money, and they're like, "Get away from
Money
me!"
for you?
And the doorman yells at him and pushes him, and he goes sliding. I don't know
about
what he
half a
says,
block.
but he's yelling like, "Hey!" You know. So he gets up to the corner of the street, and it then cuts to Winthrop showing up as well.
Right.
And he comes to the gentleman's club, and they're like, "Great job!" And at this point in time, a server in the Liberty Club as well, and one of the Duke brothers hands him. He's like, "Did you think I forgot your Christmas bonus?" And he's handing a $5 bill. And he goes, "Oh, great. I can go to the movies by myself." And the other Duke brother says, "Don't forget, half of that came from me." And you immediately know, like, what
Merry
douches, you know.
Then Billy's outside, and he's scooting along and comes across a couple of cops.
Yep.
And
They're like, "We've got complaints."
that entails a small chase that heads into the club.
Well, so how it happens is they say, "Hey, we got complaints," and they pick him up by his arms, and his legs come down, and they take his glasses off, and he's like moving his eyes back and forth. And he's like, "I can see. I have legs," and he's walking back towards the club, like to get away from him, and he's yelling at him the entire time. Thank you so much." And when he pulls up, he's right in front of the club. And he looks over, and a cop car pulls out of the alley. So he kind of waves and turns around, and as he does, he runs into Winthrop,
knocks him over.
and he picks his briefcase up to hand to him, and he's like, "You can just have the suitcase. Please don't hurt me." And he's like, "I'm not. It's here." And he was like, "No. And so he screams for help. Cops come running. He runs into Liberty, and there's a chase
Which ends up with 6 guns in his face on his
pointed
back.
right to his face. Yeah,
So he gets arrested. And then the Duke brothers come up with
a brilliant idea.
to ruin both their lives, basically.
Well, I mean, so the argument was nature versus nurture.
Right.
It doesn't matter what environment do you grow up in. Can you become successful? I can't remember which brother. Was it Mortimer?
I think it was Mortimer. I think Randall was Don Ameche.
Randy, because he calls him Randy, is the one that wants Valentine to succeed.
Right.
Mortimer is like, "I don't want you." Because he's like, "Randy, like from the Jackson 5.
Yeah, like Randy.
So he gets arrested, and they come up with this idea. "Hey, I'll bet you that we can't switch these two individuals out. Take everything from Winthrop.
Force him into a life
Poverty.
of crime.
No,
And
yeah,
crime.
and crime. It has to be crime. Yeah, he has to commit crime, but take everything, the money, the car, the house, his fiance, make him homeless, basically.
Right.
And then we're going to give it all to Valentine.
And see if he can become successful.
Right. I love the jail scene with Valentine.
Right.
With Eddie Murphy. Him doing the karate.
Yeah.
It goes on for just like a smidge too long, but I thought that's what made it funny. And the noises he's making. It's just, yeah. Classic Eddie Murphy. And I always say that don't be that jive so bro this close to Thanksgiving. So he's saying he's going to kick these two big guys' butts, and they pick him up and throw him against the
bars.
He's like, "Man, I got a limousine, you know," and he's telling him about he's got money and he's in here he shouldn't be in here. And then he gets bailed out. So he walks out, and the Duke brothers are waiting in the car. And as he's like sitting in the car, he's like, "What's going on?" He leans up to the driver, and he's like, "Are these guys messing with me?" And he's like, "Nope." He said, "Are they?"
Are they a couple of F's?
Yeah.
Nope.
And he was like, "Nope." He sits back, and he's like,
All right, I'll hang out with you guys.
"Okay. All right. We skipped one thing. So they're at the Liberty club, right? And they hired Beeks to plant the money in Winthrop's pocket. So they're all sitting there, and he has them like put one hand on his shoulder and have someone reach in their pocket, and they put it out. And they'd mark three $50 bills with red X's. So they basically say he's a thief, even though they planted it. They freeze his bank accounts. They arrest him. They take all of his clothes. They make him strip down. They fire him. They plant PCP on him.
Right.
Just PCP, angel dust. You know what this does to kids? I like that he corrects them throughout the movie because everyone says you got caught with heroin. It was PCP. Yeah.
Angel dust.
Angel dust. God.
I like to fly high.
So they're taking everything away from him, and so they go and get Valentine, and they take him to...
I love that the cop is even like, when they're going through Mr. Winthrop's stuff, he's even like, what is this? And he rolls out a bag, and he opens it up, dips his pinky in.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, this is PCP. Angel dust.
How do you know what PCP tastes like?
Right. I love it. I love that they take him, and they've called Coleman. They tell him what's happening. He picks up the phone and he puts it down. He says, okay. He's like, douchebags. Right. Valentine and the Duke show up, and as they're sitting there, he's like, has a smile on his face, and he's just slowly pocketing everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't think you understand. Like, this is your stuff. Yeah, this is yours. He's like, oh, okay. And he's walking around. And he just keeps putting stuff in his pockets. And he was like, do you want to go upstairs and take a shower? And he was like, man, I knew it. I knew this is what this was coming to. And they're like, no. And then the next scene is Coleman standing above him as he's sitting in the bathtub. And he was like,
you want a jacuzzi?
You're like,
Man,
I knew it. I knew it.
No, it's bubbles.
He
moron.
turns it on. He's like,
I
bubbles.
wanted a jacuzzi when I was a kid. We had to fart in the tub.
Yeah. So they basically get him acclimated to the environment. And then meantime,
Winthrop's being arrested.
he's arrested. His fiance bails him out.
All of his clothes are gone.
They give him clothes from like Lost and Found. He's dressed like a pimp.
In the cell, they've taken all of his clothes, and everybody else is wearing his
And he's
clothes,
beat up.
And he's beat to shit, and he gets out, and she's like, bails him out, but dumps him at the same time.
Well, they dump him because Beeks hires Jamie Lee Curtis to go up and kiss him.
Yeah.
And say, I just need a hit. I need some more,
You need a little fix.
And she was, I knew it. His fiance is like, I knew it.
Right.
And she leaves, and Jamie Lee Curtis starts laughing. She was like, it was a joke. He told me it was your friend. He told me it'd be funny.
Yeah.
He was like, you've ruined my life.
Yeah, Beeks is completely gone whenever she tries to
of course,
point him out.
that guy right over there, nobody there.
The only time Jamie Lee Curtis has ever pointed somebody out, miraculous.
Right?
Ophelia, that's her name.
Yes, Ophelia.
Yeah. He's like distraught, and he was like, I will pay you $50 if you let me share the cab, go to the bank, get the money for you. They go to the bank. His accounts are frozen. They take all of his credit cards.
Yep.
They're like, we have to repossess this. The IRS wants to know what's going on. And he's like, oh my God. So they leave the bank, and she's like, I've had a long day. I'm done. Forget the $50. And he's on his hands and knees, and he's begging her. He's like, I don't have anywhere to go. Take me to the house. Let's go find out what's going on. So they go to the house. It might have been vice versa. They go to the house and knock on the door, and Coleman's like, I don't know who you are, sir. He's like, Coleman. He was like, I don't know who you are. And he shuts the door, and he was like, what the hell is going on? So he eventually goes home with Ophelia because he doesn't have anywhere else to go.
Nope.
And in the meantime, Valentine's down at the bar.
Living it up.
Has the money, paying his tab.
Yeah.
Yep.
Getting everyone champagne, and the two guys from the jail cell walk up, and he's like, my limousine's outside, park right outside. And they walk out, and they're like, holy crap. So Valentine invites everyone over to the house.
Party.
Coleman's having fun too. He's drinking.
Finishing off empties.
But Valentine's noticing that people are
Treating this place like crap.
yeah, like crap, not respecting anything.
Shocker.
And he loses his shit, and he's like, everyone get out.
Kicks
And he walks
everybody
into his bedroom, and there are two chicks in his bedroom waiting for him, topless.
Yep.
He's like, get out. I had to fast forward through a couple of those scenes because Jack was
yeah.
in the room, and I was like, yeah.
A lot of dancing and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take.
And Coleman's like, you have a big day tomorrow, so I'll clean up. You go to bed, lay down. We'll start fresh tomorrow.
Big day tomorrow, first day at work.
And then poor Winthrop spent the night with Jamie Lee Curtis, which, I think he had a good time.
Yeah. It was rough.
It was pretty rough, yeah. So Valentine goes to work.
Duke
and Duke. They're teaching about commodities.
Right.
There's bacon. There's bread. There's gold. There's orange juice.
Yep.
There's something else on the table. What is it?
Probably, it was wheat for the bread. It was bacon for the pork bellies. And
OJ.
I think it was just OJ.
There were 5 in gold. There were gold bars at the end, but there were 5. I don't know.
remember.
I can't either. Can't remember. Anyways, they're teaching about like how weather can change stuff, how futures, how things look out, can change stuff, and he picks up on it like quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I think from the get-go, you get to Valentine's pretty quick. He's witty.
Yep.
He's not dumb.
he's not
He's
dumb.
street
just
smart.
He's just he's street smart, and he's down on his luck. I think he was born that way, so he's just used to living that way. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. But he picks up on it quick, and you can see his whole personality kind of change to be like more serious. And poor Winthrop, he shows up at the club,
At the tennis club.
with the 4 guys singing a cappella, and one of them's already moved in on his lady, and he shows up dressed like a pimp, asking for money, and he's like, "I'll pay you back," and they're like, "Get out of here! I can't believe
You're a bum."
Show your face here."
Yeah.
So this sends him off into even more of Winthrop. He loses his shit.
Yep.
He starts getting drunk.
He goes over and he's walking through and goes to like some kind of, I'm assuming this restaurant that would frequent at, and
Right. Goes
sees
by the
the
window.
Duke and
Yeah.
Dukes, and then he sees Valentine's.
And they're telling jokes, and no one knows how it's going to go. And yeah.
Valentine's giving advice on
Stocks.
on
Or
stocks
yeah.
and stuff, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's he saying? Let's listen."
Yeah, the whole restaurant stops talking, and they're all listening.
Because earlier in the day, he made Duke and Duke a bunch of money, telling them to hold off and don't buy until it reaches.
Because it's
74.
Christmas time. People are saving their money.
Yeah.
Like, don't buy yet. It's going to go further down.
Yeah.
And he ends up making them $300,000 or $400,000. And
Yep.
so it's pretty
It's
wild.
like, see, told you.
Yeah, Mortimer is not happy about this.
No.
Randolph is loving every minute of it. Of
course.
It shows Winthrop going and trying to pawn his $6,000 watch.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, "This is hot."
Bo Diddley.
Yeah, he was like, "This is hot," and he's like, "No, it's not." And he's talking in that like fancy,
This is the
this
sports
is the
watch.
yes. You can
It
tell
tells time
and
simultaneously
in,
in
like-
Moscow. Start.
Yeah.
$50 is what it costs in Philly.
yeah, he's like, the Philly price is $50. And he looks down and he's like, "Ooh, how much for the gun?" And you're like, "Oh shit!"
Right.
So we then get him dressed like Santa Claus. This is my favorite
Yes.
part of the movie.
When he's super drunk at the Duke and Duke Christmas party, wearing the filthiest Santa suit
Nastiest.
that you could imagine, with the grossest looking beard,
And he's
with it
trashed.
just floored.
He's throwing all this stuff in his pockets, all this food
the bread, he
Yeah.
takes a big slice of prime rib, puts it
in his pocket, and then he picks up
takes
the entire salmon.
and stuffs it in his shirt.
Right inside of his like furry shirt. So then we get Winthrop goes to his office and starts planting all the drugs.
Right.
And Valentine walks in. He's like, "What are you doing?" Winthrop says, "Dukes, please come in here." And he's like, "I look at all the drugs I found," and he starts naming all these drugs off, and he was like, "He planted those," and so they call security.
They kick him out.
The scream when he leaves the office, he goes, "Ah!" And he's running through, and he jumps up on the table.
Yeah.
And he's standing there, and then he just steps off of it and he disappears.
Right.
Well, Valentine takes one of the joints and he's in the bathroom smoking it.
Yeah.
And the Dukes walk in.
Yeah, he overheard the Dukes talk about their bet and how much they wagered.
$1.
One whole dollar. They said, "Well, do we want to switch them back, or do you want to leave Valentine in charge?" And then he goes, "You think I want a hard R
Yeah.
running my firm?"
Yeah. And you're like, "She." But even Valentine's face is like, "Seriously?"
Damn.
Whoa.
So Valentine leaves the bathroom and he is looking for Winthrop. This is my favorite scene of the entire movie. He's all the way down the hallway and he hears drunk Santa Claus walking all the way down the hallway, and he yells at him and he just turns and he goes, every time. Every time I laugh. So Winthrop walks downstairs. Valentine gets down there, thinks he sees him, but it's another Santa Claus. And Winthrop gets into the bus, and he's sitting in the bus, and he pulls that salmon out.
God, starts eating it.
He starts eating it, and it's like stuck to the hair.
In the
and
beard.
he just pulls the hair and he starts chewing it. It's so gross. But Valentine gets in a cab, follows him. He goes to Ophelia's. He just walks in. She's like decorating the tree or something.
Yeah.
And he walks by and has this like gross drunk look on his face, and he goes in the bathroom. And then Eddie Murphy shows up, and he was like,
Looking for Winthrop.
she's like, Lewis. And she goes to the bathroom and she's like, he's here. And it won't open. Well, Valentine kicks the door down and he's taking a whole bunch of pills. So they take him to Valentine's house. Doctor comes, says it was close. And he wakes up and he's like, "Oh my God, I thought it was a dream." He's like, "I thought it was real life. It's a dream. I'm back in my bed." And he sees Valentine and he just flies and starts choking him. "It was the Dukes. It was the Dukes." Tells him what's going on, you know? And they're like, "Well, what are we going to do about it?" Well, the next next scene is Lewis cleaning his shotguns. And he's like, you really just going to walk in and blow their kneecaps off? And he's like, well, why not? I mean,
I've taken everything else from me.
yeah, might as well do it.
As well. Because, the only way you get even with these people is to take their money.
Yeah. At this point in time, they see the newsreel of Beeks, who Ophelia says, that's the guy that paid me to kiss you. And they're both like, Beeks? He's the one not on the roll.
Yeah, not on the payroll.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, they're insider trading.
$20,000 in
They're getting
checks.
information from this guy, and they know exactly where he's going to be, right?
So they're going to plan the old switcheroo.
So they are listening in on calls all day long until they finally hear Beeks, and they're in the office, and Valentine is listening. He was like, I know exactly where they're going to be. So he gets on the train. It's like a New Year's Eve train.
Yeah, it's a train from Philly to New York.
Yeah, and it's Belushi's on the train.
Yeah.
Who's great. He's so random in this, too. He's dressed like a gorilla. Everyone's dressed up. It's like a Halloween New Year's party.
Yeah, a costume party.
I don't know when Al Franken is on this movie.
In
Al
this
Franken was
scene.
one of the two
Forklift drivers.
Baggage handlers.
That's right.
My turn to drive.
He was saying
No.
that he still gets royalties from this movie.
I bet he does.
Good.
You did the cans earlier. I
backed up like 5 feet.
5 feet.
Sometimes it's shorter, sometimes
it's longer. And he was like, no,
It's my turn."
it's my turn.
No.
And
believe that
they're,
guy was-
yeah, I know, right? They're transporting a gorilla.
Right?
So what it is a nice gorilla costume with a man inside.
Yes.
But it's supposed to be a real gorilla, but it's just a nicer gorilla costume.
a
Where
little
Belushi's costume was a cheap gorilla costume.
Cheap.
Right. So they're transporting the gorilla, saying it's going somewhere. I don't know. And they're sitting there and they're getting drunk, but they're also like eating bananas with the gorilla. And Beeks finds his little cabin he's in. And the first person to enter is Valentine.
Eddie Murphy.
As a foreign exchange student
from Cameroon.
from Cameroon, yeah. And he has like the accent.
Merry New Year.
Man, no, it's Happy
In
New
this
Year.
country,
It's
say
Happy
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And he starts doing his Buddha, hey. Beef jerky time.
Beef jerky time.
Well, then Jamie Lee Curtis walks in as a Swedish chick.
Nope. Then
Oh,
Padre walks
Padre.
in.
Coleman walks in as priest.
The Irish priest.
The Irish priest.
with his alcohol, and then Jamie Lee Curtis comes in with her rucksack from Sweden,
Some
even though she's wearing
Sweden.
lederhosen.
And he's like, Lederhosen.
You from
Coleman, aren't you
Austria?
from? Yeah.
No, I am from Sweden.
Funny enough, during this scene, Jamie Lee Curtis allegedly couldn't pull off a convincing
Austrian. That's a hard accent.
so they were just like, just go Swedish. And
Get to the chopper.
Yeah, yeah. I always think of Indiana Jones.
We have mini tapestries.
I've gone and got the sniffles. Their idea is they are going to distract him as he's putting her backpack up in the rafter, and they're going to switch his suitcase out. And they do. Eddie Murphy does, and he goes out and he goes to the bathroom or wherever, and that's where Dan Aykroyd is, and they switch. They read it, switch it, or do something, and then they come back, and this is when they have Dan Aykroyd as the Jamaican in blackface, and you're like, oh my God. Yeah. I forgot about it, and when he walked in, I was like, oh no. I hate that when I watched this when I was younger, I didn't even think about it, and now I'm like, yee! I didn't go blackface one year, but I went as Peter Pan's shadow. Mine was like jet black. You know what I mean? Like this color black. Like my entire body, everything, clothes, face, eyelids, everything. I was dating a girl named at the time, and everything she did, I just stood behind her and did as well. God. And so like if she was drinking like a drink, she just would put one of my hands every time she took a drink. I just stood behind her.
Nice.
But yeah, Marcus was like, you're blackface. I'm like, no, I'm a shadow. I'm not pretending to be of color. I'm a shadow. Anyways, yeah. So they come back, and she was like, okay, will you help me put the knapsack or whatever back up? And he sees the swap, and he was like, he pulls a gun on him. He was like, come on, let's go. So he takes him to like the storage cart, and he's gonna off him,
kill him.
Yeah. And so Belushi walks in the gorilla costume, and he's like, come on, it's a party. And he walks up to Beeks, who has a gun. He's like, come on. And Beeks hits him in the head with the gun, which pisses the gorilla off in the cage and knocks Beeks out. So they take the gorilla costume off Belushi, put it on Beeks, throw him in the cage with the gorilla, and they tape his mouth shut so he can't talk, and they tape his hands so he can't do anything, and he's just like stuck in this costume. I never understood why he couldn't take the mask off, but
he couldn't do this.
Right, but it is part
what
of the
it
story.
is.
So then they pretend to be Beeks. They get the information, pretend to be him, feed the Duke brothers the wrong information,
and get paid.
Yeah.
Cash.
Get paid in cash, money. like I think it's like 100,000 or something like I don't know, 50,000. But then they take all of Coleman's money, all of Ophelia's
which was
money,
42 grand.
all of the money that Valentine has in his accounts, all of this money, and they go to the stock exchange knowing what's going to happen. So this is the part that confuses me, right? The train was going to New York, so they're at the World Trade Center, which is crazy because both my kids were like, "Whoa, like World Trade Center is in a movie," and I'm like, "It's in lots of movies." Yeah. Their idea, they know that the price is going to tank because it was a rough winter in Florida, right?
No, there was no. It did
Oh,
not.
it did not. Yeah, so it did not.
affect it.
So
it's going to be a bumper crop, so it'll be
cheap.
A ton of oranges.
Right.
Available.
So they start selling. Everyone, the Dukes start buying.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, "Holy crap, the Dukes know something."
Yep.
So everyone is buying, and they offer a price of 142 for 2,000 pounds, I think is what it is, of oranges. That's like what one ton is one like stock, right? So they guarantee a price of 142 in April. They guarantee that price, and the price was going up. So now the price starts going down, but they are selling. They got the price. Like everyone wants to sell to them. Everyone. Right. So they are buying.
They're selling.
Selling 142 in April. Sell, and they take it all.
Yeah, and the price just keeps dropping
and
dropping. And the Dukes see it, and they try to get out there to tell their man to start selling.
Right.
Because they told
But
him,
he's overwhelmed.
Yeah, he just gets crushed.
Because he's buying all of theirs too.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'll just take all of them because my instruction was to buy all.
Yeah.
Everything
buy
I
as much as I can.
Right. And so then the report comes out and the price just plummets.
And then they start
they're buying.
Start buying, and everybody is selling to them. So they have
all
everything on that they've already sold and made a ton of money.
Right. So they end up buying like everything at 29 cents, and they're selling guaranteed in April at $1.42. I think it ended up being like 25 million. Someone did the math on it. I watched this video because it took forever for me to figure out what the hell was happening here.
Right.
But they end up becoming millionaires, and the Dukes end up owing like $356 million, and they're done. They have to go bankrupt. They sell their seats on the exchange.
Take all their assets.
And the movie ends with them all on the beach. Lewis is on a boat with Jamie Lee Curtis. Valentine and Coleman are on the beach. And Lewis, you say,
looking good, Billy Ray.
Looking good. Feeling good, Lewis. That's how the movie ends.
Yeah. So in 2010, as part of the World Street Transparency and Accountability Act, which was to regulate financial markets, a rule was included which barred anyone from using secret insider information. So this is 2010. So imagine how long the stock market's been open with all of this stuff.
Right.
Which was to regulate financial markets, a rule which barred anyone from using secret inside information to corner markets, similar to what the Duke brothers tried to do in the movie.
Yep.
Since the movie inspired the rule, it has since become known as the Eddie Murphy rule.
Wow. Oh, that's super interesting.
Yeah. And then Ralph Bellamy and Don Ameche make cameo appearances in Coming to America in 1988 as the same characters. The two are now homeless, and Prince Akeem, played by Eddie Murphy, gives them a large amount of money to get back off the streets.
Yeah.
Randolph!
We're back.
But also, I think that the electronics changed the way all of it worked as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can't fathom how they were doing it. Tickets, I just can't fathom it. I can't comprehend how it worked.
It's all clicks and whistles on my end.
Yeah, man. I
don't know what y'all are doing. But
it's mind blowing. Yeah, it's mind blowing.
The Richard Dennis guy was commodities speculator known as the Prince of the Pit, was born in Chicago in January of 1949, and in the early 70s borrowed $1,600 and reportedly made $350 million in about 6 years.
A little bit of this is happening with crypto too, with the Hawktua girl. She's in big trouble. Yeah. Like we're talking prison time with her.
Mm-hmm. I doubt it.
Oh, I bet she does. She lost a lot of people millions of dollars, and I think that
enough to invest in crypto and somebody that's associated with Hawktua.
It wasn't that. It was the fact that she sold all of hers as it was crashing and made a ton of money.
In 1983, legendary trading commodity Richard Dennis and William Eckhart held the Turtle experiment to prove that anyone could be taught to trade. The Turtle Trading Company, so basically they took like normal people and they're like, hey, this is how you trade in the stock market, and apparently it was an enormous success.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. So it was kind of based on that. With that being said, guys, do you have any final thoughts about?
No, I mean, I think it's just your classic Eddie Murphy 80s movie. Lots of inappropriateness in it. Lots of laughs. I mean, I've just seen it so many times that I know what's coming.
It's your typical R-rated 80s comedy.
Yeah. You got to have boobs. You got to have the language. You know, it's just
Gags.
silliness that doesn't really make any sense.
And always a happy ending.
Yeah, always a happy ending.
So the two older gentlemen, one of them starred in, this was his 99th film.
Yeah.
And then the other one, it was his 49th film. This was yet Eddie Murphy's second film. So he would joke all the time about how between the three of them, they made 150 movies.
That's funny. So Randolph is actually younger than Mortimer, but plays the older brother by like a year. But they were like 78, 79 when they made this movie. I was looking at Mortimer and I'm like, man, if he's like in his 50s, because you know how,
Right.
I'm like, if he's in his 50s, I'm going to be so pissed off. And I looked up, I was like, no, he's in his upper 70s in this movie. So
There you go.
yeah.
Yeah, Wilford Brimley was in his 40s in Cocoon.
I know, I hate everything about it.
I'm like, that dude.
Why were you in a retirement home?
Right?
Right.
You're 40.
Diabetes. So that's it. I mean, it's just a funny movie.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you give it?
First off, we have a rating system of S through F scale, S best movies ever made. Currently, for the podcast, we only have 10 spots available. They're being held by 4. If we hit 11 S movies, one of them has to be knocked out.
Yep.
So our 4 currently are The Exorcist, The Way Back, Jaws, and our new standing is Elf.
Elf. Made it to the S tier.
A is a very good movie, few flaws. B is it's good movie. C is your average film. D is not great, dog crap. And then F is just
Unwatchable.
awful.
Yeah.
Currently, we only have 2 movies in Jason Takes Manhattan and The Item. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
So, with that being said, Dave, what would you give?
So there's nothing spectacular about the filming of the movie. It is what it is. Some locations are pretty neat, like seeing the trading floor of the World Trade Center.
Right.
That's kind of neat, but it's an 80s movie, so they're not working on cinematography. Acting was fine in it. Again, your standard 80s.
Yeah.
Story is ridiculous, but fun.
But fun.
Yeah. So I'm giving it just a solid B. I don't think it's an A movie. No. It is a movie, though, that if it's on, I will stop and watch it. Okay. But I think that has to do with just childhood. Like, I've watched it so many times. Yeah. And there's not really any boring parts of the movie. It moves super quick pace.
Yeah, for 116 minutes, it goes by pretty quick.
Pretty quick. Lee?
Oh, well, I echo everything you just said. Gags were good. The acting was what you would expect. It was fun. It moved quick. Not really a whole lot to complain about. But it's not a movie that I seek out to watch, you know. But if it's on, like you said, I'll sit and watch it if it's on. And I've done it probably 30 times.
Right.
And it always seems like I catch it at the same time as right after the Christmas party.
Yeah.
It's usually when I catch it. I give it a B as well. You know, it's just your typical 80s comedy.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be a little bit harsher on it. Just
Sure.
This is my first time watching it. I have heard about this movie, and I think I've caught other people watching it, but it was this one of Dan Aykroyd's first films as well.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. He's Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Prior to that.
Yeah, he was definitely Saturday Night Live. And
He wasn't super well known, but enough.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy was definitely the draw. He was coming in red hot at that time.
so before that, he was in the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Before that, and then 1941 before that. So the Blues Brothers, that was his breakout role, and that was actually a couple years prior. Blues Brothers was 1980, so this was 3 years after Blues Brothers. So he was pretty well known.
Oh yeah, especially after Blues Brothers. Then
yeah, and then that's funny. It's Trading Places, then Twilight Zone.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the hell was he in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom?
He was at the
Oh, that's right, because I
Club
remember.
Obi-Wan.
Yeah, because I remember going, holy crap! And then Ghostbusters, and so he made
Megastar. Then yeah.
Yeah, Spies Like Us after that, Dragnet, The Great Outdoors, Caddyshack. Caddyshack 2, Ghostbusters 2, Driving Miss Daisy. Yeah, he was... that's crazy. He's kind of older in Driving Miss Daisy. Feels like it.
Yeah, he's
and
a
that's
boy.
only 6 years after this movie. Doesn't that seem like it should be like 20 years after this
something
movie?
like that.
Yeah. Anyways, so go harsher.
I felt like this was more so an average movie. I think you guys kind of talked me up from giving it a C, but I think I am going to give it a C+.
Yeah.
Just because I was really interested in the experiment. As soon as things started happening, I think I would have rather saw Dan Aykroyd start to succeed within that space as well, but he just kind of went down which I understood what they were going with there, but
Right.
at the same time, I don't know. I don't think I got really invested in the movie until the train scene, believe it or not.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's usually how it works.
Yeah.
With that movie.
But
Train scene makes it, and the
More-
payoff at the end.
which the payoff at the end, I was like, oh yeah, they're just gonna make some money
I mean, it was like boom, boom, boom.
Well, they made
Yeah.
money, but they also destroyed the Dukes in the
at
process.
the same time,
Right.
which was
Right.
Added bonus.
yeah.
So
C plus.
so B minus then.
Yeah, B minus.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
I'm all right with that.
Okay, B minus.
I
All
would
right.
like to say thanks for the recommendation because I would have probably never saw this movie unless.
Yeah, if you are watching this, just inward blackface, boobs,
lots of boobs.
lots of boobs.
But there
Some
were,
porn.
I don't want to come down too hard on it. There were some pretty funny moments of
Yeah.
the movie, and there were some good gags and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm with you. I mean, the story's ridiculous. I'm literally in it just to see Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy play their characters. Yeah.
Right. Also, I will say too, it really threw me off seeing Jamie Lee Curtis's boobs. The only movies I really watch her in is the Halloween movies. So seeing, that's a little weird. But anyway,
I loved every minute of it.
Both times.
She was one of my favorites growing up.
yeah, there you go.
It's not to like.
I know. I agree.
So, all right.
All right, cool. All right.
Cool.
We'll
Later.
see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.